Hello YouTube and fellow Star Wars collectors! On this episode of Toys Are the Way, I will be sharing my painting process for how I updated the latest vintage collection playset, the Endor Bunker from Return of the Jedi. If you're new to the channel or a fan of Star Wars collecting, be sure to smash a like on this video, remember to subscribe, and make sure to ring that bell to stay notified. Upcoming videos will feature similar tutorials, diorama builds, and more from the vintage collection, so stay tuned. By now, many of you should have this excellent new offering for the 40th anniversary of Return of the Jedi. The Endor Bunker is a great set, no doubt, but I'm always looking for ways to improve and help incorporate these items into my dioramas and shelf displays. The standard release on the left leaves a lot to be desired when it comes to the paint application. And I wanted to give this bunker a more screen-accurate appearance that would not only look stunning in my collection, but also add some texture and depth to my toy photography. To begin, we'll need a few things to get started. A series of acrylic paints, specifically black, burnt umber, chromium oxide green, and cadmium yellow. We will also need a number of paint brushes to use with these different color mixtures, a mixing knife, paper towels, a silver paint marker, and a separate brush to use for dry brushing. I have an older brush that I specifically use for dry brushing because of its old, rough bristles. The paint mixture I will be using is my go-to weathering wash that consists of burnt umber, chromium oxide green, and black acrylic paint. If you're a fan of the channel, you have seen me use this mix in a number of different world-building projects. At first glance, this release has some tremendous sculpting and detail, but it lacks any type of weathering. The soft plastic moss is glued to the structure, and if removed, will leave the indentations that are used to keep them in place. My initial plan was to swap these out for realistic pine needles and moss, but I'd rather not expose these horrible cavities and just enhance everything with paint instead. Using the go-to weathering mix, apply a few splatters of the watered-down paint mixture to the bunker's facade, and then work the paint in by using the dry brush method. The brush will spread the diluted paint across the surface of the bunker, but also work it into the corners and smaller details that a paper towel may not be able to reach. Using the paper towel, continue wiping away the wash using a downward motion and working it into the bunker. This will add a subtle first coat that will take the shiny appearance away and start to give the Imperial secret entrance an aged appearance. Next, you will want to apply an initial wash to the roof of the bunker as well, and just as before, wipe the paint away with the paper towel. Taking some paint from our non-diluted pile, work your way around the structure, adding splatters of paint on various surfaces of the bunker's roof, such as the edges, panel seams, and mechanical fixtures. Use the dry brush to work the dirty paint color into the cracks separating the panels, and then smear everything together using the paper towel method. Remember, these are areas where buildup would occur. The same method can be used to work the paint into the mechanical fixtures that have lots of detailing and will really start to bring those details to life. Taking some more paint from the non-diluted pile, add several dashes of the paint color to various areas of the bunker's facade. This will be our second coat of weathering that will enhance the first coat, but also address some areas where paint is still needed. Once the paint is applied and brushed together with the paper towel, everything will start to have a nice cohesive look, and we can move on to the next stage of weathering, runoff. Once again, taking some paint from our non-diluted pile, apply it to the upper and lower portions of the bunker's canopy, and smudge the mixture accordingly. We will want to dirty up these areas where the runoff would be dripping down, as the environment ages the structure on the forest moon of Endor. Apply a coat of paint at the top edge of the canopy, and use the dry brush to drag the paint downward, creating the runoff appearance. Repeat the same process for the upper edge of the roof, where the harsh elements of the forest moon would have affected this bunker as well. Lastly, we will finish off this stage in the weathering process by applying more of our paint mixture to key areas, working the paint into all the small details, and dry brushing throughout. Such areas include the overhang and its interior ceiling, the indents that are patterned on the sides of the structure, the bottom of each wall where the dirt buildup would occur, and lastly, the floor and control panels at the entrance of the bunker. While I did keep the bunker intact during most of this painting process, in order to keep the weathering look cohesive, I would recommend taking it apart for the control panels, as it's a small space with limited reach. Moving on, we need to address the blast doors, which of course need to be properly weathered for a more screen accurate look, but also to be consistent with the rest of the paint we have applied to the bunker. Naturally, we will apply the same weathering process as before, but we will be adding metallic damage and scrape marks by using a silver paint marker by Uniwide. This is my go-to tool for this kind of effect. It has the best paint and coverage out of all the markers I've tested. To apply the scrape marks, use the side of the marker tip to carefully add a thin line of paint, and then use a small dry brush to drag the paint and help blend it all together. I carefully tried to match the reference photo, and once everything is applied and done, the door will have a fantastic look and really add some realism to the playset. The paint dries quickly, so be sure to apply and drag in a timely manner. Of course, after all the metallics have been added, we need to blend everything together with a nice dirty wash, which will help dull down some of the metallic shine and give it a properly aged look. Apply some dabs of the non-diluted paint mixture to the top, bottom, and middle seam of the door, and work it in with the dry brush. Once plenty of paint has been added, the blast door will have a wonderfully screen-accurate look, and you will really start to notice how much this set benefits from some paint applications. Repeat the same process for the second set of doors, adding a wash, metallic scuff marks, and then blending it together with one final dirty wash. For the second set of doors, I tried to match the scuff marks that are visible on the bottom and middle seam where the doors have slammed shut multiple times, keeping those pesky murder bears at bay. I think this set of doors really benefited the most from the paint applications and looks incredible when the first set of blast doors opens up and reveals these nice aged doors. Here you can see the blast doors have really come to life, and the shiny bronze plastic no longer stands out and now has the same aged look that we saw in Return of the Jedi. I am really happy with how these paint applications turned out. Lastly, we will need to add the finishing touches to the weathering and overall appearance of the bunker walls. The reference photo shows patches of black smudge marks and discoloration sprinkled throughout, followed by some metallic weathering and runoff, which is prominent on the edges and overhang. Additionally, there were scrapes and scuff marks on the edges of the facade and door frame that will need to be added as well. To achieve this final look, I simply applied some black paint that has a tiny bit of the wash color mixed in, and once again hit it with the dry brush method. I then used the paint marker followed by some dry brushing to add the next layer of metallics and runoff, which all gets blended together with a light dry brushing of the same black paint with the wash color added. Next, we will need to create a green moss color. I added a small amount of cadmium yellow to the chromium green oxide to help add some richness to the paint mixture. Initially, I intended to paint the moss color and then add some hobby foliage as well, but I think the paint application was seamless and did not need any further enhancement. I applied the green color to all the areas where the moss had been sculpted onto the bunker and then used the dry brush method to drag it upward, giving it that natural appearance that forest growth is known for. You can see I was able to apply this vibrant green color and dry brush throughout, which helped blend it with the dirty residue located along the bottom edges of the structure. Once the moss color has been added to all three sides of the bunker, the floor trim, and some key areas of the indented wall patterns, it really starts to come to life and take on a movie set-like appearance. While I could take this to the next level and apply some hobby foliage that has been ground down, it would likely be a risky application process, and I did not want to damage the paint applications with a failed glue attempt. But it is an option if you choose to take that route, but I am just going to display my bunker as seen here. Lastly, I applied some brown paint to the soft plastic moss located on the roof of the Endor Bunker. If you take a look at the reference photo, there's actually not any green moss on the top of the structure. It's actually covered in pine needles and branches. Therefore, I simply dry brushed some burnt sienna mixed with the muddy wash color to add layers of brown paint and achieve the pine needle appearance. Here you can see the final product, properly weathered and paired with some accessories from my speeder bike and scout trooper Endor diorama. All in all, I am very happy with how this project turned out, and I can't wait to take some photos and set up my Endor shelf display. I hope you've enjoyed this video and taking a look at my weathering process for the Return of the Jedi 40th Anniversary Endor Bunker playset. Be sure to let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. And don't forget to drop a like on this video and subscribe if you're new to the channel. It really helps and is always greatly appreciated. Thanks everyone, and may the Force be with you.